We're living in an age in America where people are being very creative religiously. I think something has happened in the last 3 or 4 years. And there's all this ferment going on that has just arrived. Someone has got to make sure that there is a percolating environment for all those Jews who want to be Jewish. Leadership is lying in the street. Someone's got to pick it up.
We wanted to create a safe place where clergy from across denominations and some wonderful artists who are working in renovating and inspiring worship in Jewish communities, to bring them together and create a safe place in which to ask the right questions about synagogue life.
We've all traveled physically and metaphorically a very long distance, using amazing resources to come together.
I think both of Mitziyut in Chicago and the Black Rock JCC at Burning Man, it's a group of Jews getting together to do Judaism in a way that makes sense to us.
They are interested in exploring new forms of spiritual community that are not necessarily rooted in buildings.
It's all trying to move in and out of the synagogue and change the permutations and lower the threshold for synagogue engagement and communal engagement.
It really has become not as some alternative thing out there, but sort of the movement to really complement what the synagogue does, and then actually people become integrated into the life of the congregation.
My question has been how to get to that and to share an authentic and powerful Jewish experience. That is, I left the synagogue to form something different.
They're meeting in interesting spaces, in clubs, in bars, in coffee houses, in homes.
So there's just different entry points. There's different mechanisms for helping people connect.
The key thing of postmodernity is that the idea that there is no sacred secular split, that all of life is sacred.
We're working to harness the power of the young Jewish community to make a difference on social justice and environmental issues.
They've never met in a room before, the Jewish emergence. I mean, no one even talked about Jewish emergence before 3 months ago. Mostly young people who are trying to rethink synagogue for a 21st century American Jewish community.
Is there a sense of this quote-unquote emergent Jewish young leadership thing? And if so, cool.
This has actually felt totally unique to me because it's the only group that I've been with that's all new institution builders and institutions that that are bucking trends. The juice and the camaraderie and the things that people were talking about in the beginning they wanted, I've really felt.
It's not only that we can look to each other, but also that there's a paradigm out there that this is part of a sort of growing cultural trend.
And I think what we're seeing in this recent movement, the emerging church, Emerging Synagogue, is an attempt to find a more grounded kind of spirituality.
My name's Tony Jones, and welcome to reality TV Jewish Christian Emergent Dialogue. I can't tell you, really, the conversations that we've had among ourselves in the last weeks about, first of all, how blown away we were by this invitation and how honored we were by it.
I thought it was going to sort of be a conversation like that, like eating ethnic food or something, like, wow, I've never had this before, like those potato pancake things. It felt much more like we're at very similar places asking really similar questions that we are asking that the other people in each of our traditions are not asking.
I hear a lot of similarities. The language is different, the vocabulary is different, but some of the basic questions and concerns are, I find, remarkably similar.
Emergent as an organization is about 7 years old, and intentionally at the beginning we defined it as a friendship and not a movement. I don't know if that was, I mean, in some senses that was very intentional. I think it was a bit intuitive as well, because I think a number of us were just tired and had inhabited environments that were no longer giving us life, and we needed some friends in the journey for where we felt like we were being called to go.
When we start with friendship, then I think we can gain a tremendous amount from each other while still recognizing and celebrating our differences and how we're distinct.
That in itself is maybe not revolutionary, but it's fairly significant. That we can take a walk together and talk about lofty matters. And my grandfather, who was a rabbi, probably didn't take a walk on an afternoon with a fellow walker on a different path.
And if someone really believes in a deep passion that that's the path, but they can sit in front of me and we can talk and we can share, deep Torah, then I'm gonna be okay with that.
Increasingly in our church community, back where I am in Seattle, our interest is not so much around orthodoxy, getting it right, or orthopraxy in doing it right, but orthoparadox and living into the tensions, so that as we encounter one another and as we come together, that you bring the fullness of you, and your community brings the fullness of your community to my community, and my community, and vice versa. And together we live into this grand tension.
I mean, that's the real challenge for religious institutions. How to cultivate spirituality. How to cultivate it with practice, but practice that is both rooted in tradition and yet open to innovative forms of expression.
There really is a taste of God that a room can feel that's authentic, that we have to strive to create, and our resources should be poured into creating the kinds of experiences that draw people in and have them wanting to come back.
Maybe this might be a fulcrum with which we can really leverage some change in the Jewish community, because you're all trying to do it and doing it, and we might even get a little further doing it together.
This is part of what's so exciting about this group of sort of emergent leaders, that we're all sort of standing on the threshold, but not necessarily of the old doors. We're kind of creating new doors, we're creating windows, we're knocking holes in the wall, we're kind of trying to find different space in, because we hear the voices from the outside differently than they may have been heard before.